getting stuff done for me means that feeling of worth and contribution that I can go to bed at the end of each day, and this doesn't always happen, and know that I've accomplished something.
Hey everyone, Gordon here. Thanks for joining us on the Get Stuff Done podcast. If you're with us for the first time, a very warm welcome. If you're a regular listener, well, thanks so much for coming back. You found out your way to the How to Get Stuff Done series. In this series, through our guests' experiences and sharing of their insights, we learn how they get stuff done, how they have got to where they are today by sharing some of their techniques and strategies for doing so. I hope you find it both interesting and insightful, but also practical at the same time. Now let's see who our guest is today. Hello and welcome back to the Get Stuff Done podcast. I'm your host, Gordon Dudley, and today I'm joined by Ben Hill. Ben is an executive coach and high-performance advisor based here in the UK. He helps leaders and teams to transform their mindset, performance, and results without sacrificing health, relationships, or values. He has been doing this for some time now, having left corporate following a career over a number of years in predominantly business development and sales. And it's some of the inspiration that he took from that previous career that led him to become a full-time coach. I think that we're going to have a lot of interesting insights and perspectives from him, especially around getting stuff done. So Ben, thank you so much for being my guest today.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you for having me on, Gordon.
That's good to hear. Sounds like you've brought the energy today. Ben, I want to get onto the topic of getting stuff done.
Yes, please.
Since it is the title of the podcast, and I always like to ask my guests a couple of repeat questions around the topic of getting stuff done. The first one is, what does getting stuff done mean to you?
For me, I think I'm naturally driven, full stop. So getting stuff done for me means that feeling of worth and contribution that I can go to bed at the end of each day, and this doesn't always happen, and know that I've accomplished something. And we've all had those days where we've gone to work, we've done stuff, and we've done the happy, pretty colouring in stuff that makes us feel happy and tick the boxes, but we haven't really moved the dial to where we need to be. So getting stuff done for me is making sure that I got in, I know what I'm doing, I've swallowed the frog, so to speak, I've tackled the big tasks, or at least I've made a dent in them to avoid sort of procrastination, so I can get to the end of the day and I've earned my wind down, not my wine, my wind down, and I can get, when I'm sat there with my thoughts, I've left my phone out of the room, I'm just me and my thoughts, that I can sleep happy knowing that I've done that. So that's what getting done means to me, getting stuff done.
I like that. And I also like the way that you just clarified that you don't always achieve that, because that's also important. We have those kind of goals. We certainly won't be able to do it 100% of the time.
No.
And learning to be okay with that is also important. And has there ever been a time when you have wanted to get something done and you haven't been able to, and you then kind of took a different course or initiated some kind of corrective action?
Oh, I mean, I've got a whole box of things that I could unpack, huge and not.
Let's go there.
So maybe that's for another day. But I think smaller ones, like procrastination, right? So we all have these tasks that we need to do, or we think we need to do. If we do an audit, do we actually need to do them? Let's say yes. We're associating too much pain with this task. Like it doesn't align with us intrinsically to our energy, to our strengths, but we need to do it. So what can we do to do this? And for me, it's like going back and using sort of like, to avoid procrastination, I need to associate a bit of pleasure with this. So how can I chunk this task up into say maybe some thirds, and then I can, if it's a presentation, then I can write the title of the presentation and do the agenda. That's all I set out to do. I do that. It took me half an hour. then the next day I start building it out rather than thinking about the whole thing and having to cram it into 2 hours. And I just sit there and I will find distractions. So that's even this week. I've got a presentation tomorrow, and so that's just helped me do that. So that's just a small one that everyone can relate to
Yep.
on a small scale.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's very practical way of looking at things, because I think we all have those kinds of things that we have to do that
Mm.
we keep putting off. If you're a to-do list, then it's the one that is it there at the end of the day today, and it's there at the end of tomorrow, and it keeps getting pushed off. So yeah, no, I think that's very helpful. When it comes to getting stuff done in the context of motivating others and achieving more through teams
Mm.
and other groups, do you have a particular style that you adopt to try to get more stuff done with others?
Yeah, my job's a bit of a lonely job most of the time. But when I'm working in the past, and when I coach people in whether it's in CrossFit or in my positive psychology coaching, one-to-one coaching, then it's more of a supportive and encouraging, sort of leading by example um, roadmap that I set. So
Mm-hmm.
sometimes you do just need to get stuff done, right? It's like we just got to put our socks up and sort of do it. But at other times, you need a more strategic approach. And I never recommend doing anything that I haven't tried or done before. You can definitely coach around that, but I wouldn't profess to know it. But it's about understanding and helping people explore what needs to be done, and more importantly, a lot of the time, why are we doing it? What are we
Mm-hmm.
doing? Why are we doing it? What
Mm-hmm.
strengths and skills can we bring to the task? Where are there gaps that I need help? Who can help? What's my personal skills list here? And so it's really about reading people, asking the right questions, and then guiding that conversation towards action. But ultimately, the big one is deciding isn't taking action, right? It's just an empty prayer. We need to get to a point where we take action.
Yes. And I think that's one of the cornerstones for me of the Get Stuff Done project, is starting.
Mm.
You know, just starting, because starting's often the hardest thing. You talked about procrastination, of course. If you get started, it's just inordinately easier to keep going. Maybe we compare it back to our talking about exercise, right? The thought of going for a run is daunting, even for someone who loves running. But once they start running, they keep going without any effort whatsoever. So yeah, I am absolutely an advocate of initiating action in order to get you on your way, for sure.
Could I give another example? Very quick one.
Sure.
So I was tasked with doing something. It was quite a difficult task that I needed to do, but it involved just preparing for it and write. It was writing a letter to somebody, and I just wrote to who that person was. I worked with a coach on this. It's like, right, what's an action you can take now? Just let's do it to that person. That was it, and then I left. That was enough. And then I went away, and I was like, okay, I've started it now. It is amazing. It really does. It's just that starting point. Yeah.
It is. It is. And it doesn't mean that you it doesn't mean that you're going to get it all done there and then, but you've taken that often most difficult
Mm.
step forwards in doing it. In terms of getting stuff done, what would you say is the I mean, I think maybe you mentioned at the start about what it is that got you into the area of coaching, but in terms of kind of on a daily basis. I hope you're enjoying this episode. I just wanted to remind you to click subscribe if you haven't done so yet. By subscribing and following the podcast, you'll get each and every episode automatically pop up on your playlist every week, so you won't miss any. Thank you so much for being with us. Now let's get back to our guest. What is it that kind of gets you up out of bed? What is it that makes you want to keep doing what you're doing and getting stuff done?
Yeah, it's a great question because if you asked me 2 years ago, I'd probably struggle to say.
Okay.
Then you attach your self worth to certain things, and then you set all these goals and these lists and these things, and then if you don't achieve them or you're not doing what you think you should be doing, and you hit yourself with the shitty stick, so to speak, and it really hits our self esteem. So I had to do a huge amount of work on that. But ultimately, I'm quite a positive person anyway. But my own motivator, I guess, is I'm intrinsically motivated by um, improving, always moving forward. It's like that Rocky mentality. I don't necessarily have to keep getting hit to get moved forward, but and now I've aligned with my strengths and my values. That that's what I ask myself, right? So who am I going to help today? Who can I serve today? So that gets me out of bed, gets me excited for the day ahead. I'm intrinsically motivated by I'm curious and by getting out in nature as well. So that includes sort of exercise as well. I'm naturally empathetic, so a desire to want to help people, which led into that coaching, learning new skills as well to be able to pass on to others, but also to have that level of autonomy that enables me to experience travel, be my own boss as well, which is really, really important to me. And that drive to be able to give back. So I just go back to my values.
And so you said that those have changed quite a lot. And you mentioned you've done quite a lot of work to
Mm.
get to that point. Can you kind of briefly share a bit about what that entailed?
Yeah, and I know a really good coach who can help with that as well. Just come because I've done that hard work. But when you don't know, like, you could ask you could ask I don't know what the percentage of the population would be. Like, what are your values? Like, oh, I don't really know. Oh, money, earning, hit my target this year. Well, yeah, maybe from a work perspective, it's not one of your values. It's a goal that's going to get you X, Y, and Z. But once you've got that, what's next? What really truly motivates you? What fills you with purpose and meaning and creates positivity and that self worth and self esteem? It might be your family, your kids. Your value is to get them through college. It might be to travel to see more. Okay, how can we start moving the dial to get you towards there and creating those small steps? It could be to go on more adventures. You don't need to leave your job to be able to travel the world. You can start doing micro adventures in the UK, maybe smaller, cheaper weekends, abroad. Could you explore working abroad? Those types of things. Could you do a side hustle that enables you to embrace your passion? So
Yep.
it's really sitting down and doing the deep inner work and understanding what's holding you back. Where do you need to be, and where are you now? What's the gaps? Where do you want to be in 6 months? Why aren't you where you need to be now? Why are you working hard?
Yeah. 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 I think so many of us, especially driven people, are so busy head down driving that you set off in the right direction originally, clear about where you wanted to get to and why, but at some point it changes. The conditions change or you change, etc. I think we've talked about that, and so that's why, like you said, that I think that deep work is important. There
I,
might be. Go ahead.
I was going to say, like, I wanted to be a marine biologist. What did you want to be?
You literally asked me. I want to be an architect. Yeah. So I was just going to say that there might be people who now are thinking this is something that I need. I feel everything that I've heard is kind of what my situation is, and I would like to kind of maybe get involved with a coach. There might also be, given the audience coaches, can you tell a little bit about what you might recommend for someone who's aspiring to be a coach themselves?
Yeah, so I think it's asking yourself the question. What again goes going back to what really motivates you, and what are your values, and what are your strengths, and will this support that? Where are you at in your life, and why do you want to do that, and how big a part can it play, and what part can it play into your current employment status? You could be in a business that would enable you to go on a small coaching program and explore that with the view of supporting people within your business.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
There are lots of coaching niches that help with various specialisms that you could go and help with. I've worked with someone on my course was is a diabetes nurse, so they coach other nurses and support them. So there are various realms that you can get involved in. So I would start with that, and then there are so many resources and books and podcasts that you can get stuck into now as well to get a flavour for coaching life and
Mm-hmm.
again what your motivation is for doing that.
Yeah, I think that's really important. What you said is that coach doesn't mean necessarily full-time professional coach.
Yeah.
In a certain area. There's many different avenues, ways of working, contexts in which you can be coaching, try coaching,
Mm-hmm.
and begin to understand yourself as to where it works for you. But I think we're rapidly running out of time, Ben. So thank you so much for sharing your insights and perspectives around all the topics that we've discussed today. If people would like to get in contact with you, what would be the best way?
LinkedIn is the best place to get
Okay.
hold of me. I'm sure my details will be on here, so you can just click your
We
way
will.
to that. But yeah, linkedin.com/in/Ben Hill 1 / It's a bit of a mouthful, but we'll click on the link. benhill.askmorecoaching is my Instagram. I'm not as active as I am on LinkedIn, and my website is askmorecoaching.com.
Okay, brilliant. Well, thank you once again for being our guest on the Get Stuff Done podcast.
Thank you for having me. I hope it helps. I hope it helps just one person, but yeah, I hope it helps more. But absolute pleasure. Thanks for having me.
I'm sure it will indeed help significantly more than one person. Thanks once again. And thank you to everybody for joining us on this episode and whatever platform or media you have come across this episode. If you are not yet subscribed or following, then please do, so that you can continue to get every new episode directly on your playlist or feed when it comes out. So thank you to all of you. And once again, remember, let's get stuff done. And that's another episode of the Get Stuff Done podcast. Thank you so much for being with us. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you'd like to get involved and you have someone who you think would be a good guest for the podcast, please drop me a message and I'll be happy to get in touch. Alternatively, if you would like to share this episode on your social media, that would also be extremely appreciated by us. Thank you so much once again. Remember, let's get stuff done.